for you.
Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
A friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality. Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Everybody, it's time for a minute to skim it. I hear that Kyle is coming in late. I don't know. He must hit traffic or some nonsense. Who knows? He may have forgotten his hat. It's been a crazy day. You know, if you've been out and about trying to shop for anything, that everyone all of a sudden, like today, said, oh, heck, I forgot to shop for the holidays. I should go out right now and make the chaos. I will say also that this is like one of the this week was like such a huge release week. I mean, I feel real sad for everyone's pocketbooks because there's way too much good stuff out this week. I don't even know what to tell you about how that's going to look. Trivia King is Eddie. Trivia King Eddie. I feel like we just need to like start having a full-on trivia show just for Eddie so that he can be the champion. And then he'll have his own trivia show. A la Ken Jennings. A la Ken Jennings. You won 8 weeks in a row, Eddie. Oh my word. All right. I'll tell you that there were so many books this week that there might be some that when they come up, I'll be like, I don't remember what I read because it was a ton of reading. I'm not telling you it's bad. I'm just telling you it's a lot. To have a trivia show, we'll work it out because I love trivia shows so much. Has anyone been watching the new Jeopardy, the pop culture Jeopardy? It's pretty addicting, and they've got it on streaming, so you don't even have to wait for the next week. And they even know that about themselves. So the guy who's the host literally says, "I'll see you next week," or right after your potty break. He's a really good host. Super funny. All right. Well, let's just pretend like there's going to be two people reviewing and you're not going to have to hear me for the entire time. Hey! You made it. It was that you had to stop for a special hat.
No, it was that 30 seconds before we were supposed to go live, I went, oh no, I got to go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
And had to move the whole setup for the show, the live sale, to get out of the office to get to the bathroom.
Yeah, it's bad for you to hold your if you need to go. You should always go if you have to. This has been your health moment. Hey, right. Eddie and I want to have a trivia show in which he's the host because he knows all the trivia. It wouldn't be fair to have him on the show because he would just win them all.
We'll talk about it.
There's some heavy hitters. Oh my gosh, this is the one where I was like, well, please don't have this be the one because I got halfway through the book. This is what's so funny. Okay. So when I go to read for review, I go over to the Blackbird Diner, which serves amazing food, right? I get myself my open faced turkey sandwich and mashed potatoes and turkey gravy and big old biscuit. And by the time I get to the end of my pile of books, I am full on yawning. Because especially like today, the sun's not out much. There's a bunch of clouds. So it feels peaceful and looks so cold outside. You guys know what this is like, right? When you're like, all of a sudden when you're reading a book, go like this. What happened?
You know where I live, right?
Yeah, I know. You live perpetually in this state where it's like napping time seems like it's just on the cusp of everything.
Right. Like if I don't drop my iPad on my face, it's a particularly good week of comics.
Oh my gosh.
I'll give you a hint. This week was not a don't drop your iPad on your face week. I dropped my iPad on my face at least once.
I missed a lot in this book because I really did get like to maybe a third of the way through and be just like, it's gorgeous. I actually flipped through to see all the rest of the art because the art was so good, but my brain was already ready to just be like shut down. Have you guys ever had that day where you're just like, nope, just done? Does that reflect it all on the quality of this book? Because look, it's Eisner nominated. It is 100% beautiful. That cover is representative of what's going on the inside of the book. So definitely give it a try out. And I do apologize. This is my failure as a reviewer that I did not make it in far enough to be able to give you guys a really good review on this. But enough to say, if you're an art person and you like, Poe, this is going to be your jam. I think that probably Kyle's mad he didn't get to read this book.
I've read it.
Oh, you read it? Did you read it? I looked at all the lists from last week because sometimes you guys get books.
No. This was sent to me in relation to my other job.
Oh, perfect. So you want to do it? Give it it's a real good review. Now, also you got stunned by the beauty of it.
No, also it's been so long I don't remember.
Yeah.
Like I think I read this back in September.
Ooh.
And I don't remember stuff I read last week. So
it's not good, Kyle.
Correct. So, like, let's do the next. If you're into dark birds and dark writing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was really nervous about this book going into it. Had the first issue kind of left me in a place where I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. And I remember that because I do have notes about this book written down. I pulled a J for Arcbound. The thing about it is that in the first book, I now know they were setting up so much of the universe that they weren't bothering with why we're here. Right? Like, this is that scene in the movie where they go, the small town I grew up in was made of 700 people and yada, yada. Okay, but why are we here? That's what happens in this book, in issue 2. It explains to you why we care. And we care so much because this is Sherlock Holmes in space with a lot of blood.
Ooh.
Right. So this is absolutely a mystery to be solved. But there's a lot more action than you traditionally get in a mystery story. There's a lot more blood than you traditionally would get in like an Arthur Conan Doyle story. So it just turns into this kind of, this is where we're going sort of thing. I will say this. I don't know that this is Scott Snyder's best writing, even that he's doing right now. But it is certainly a concept with which I am not ultra familiar. It isn't, like sometimes we read these books, it's like, oh, this is just a take on this, right? We've heard this story before. This is just a different approach. I do not feel like this is that.
Yes, JD.
Yes, this is
from the Hollywoods.
Tom Hardy from Hollywood, right? I don't feel like this is just a reskinning of a different trope, right? This feels unique. It does have some big tropes in it, but this feels like a unique take. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, so there was a book that came before this one that introduced the what happened to get this character made. And I don't remember what that book was called.
I think it was called Helverine.
Was it just a Helverine one shot?
Yes.
That's why I was confused, because when they said there's going to be a new Helverine out this week, I was like, didn't we already get the launch of that? But I guess that was like an introduction to this character, which is great.
And I believe I remember it because I made a Ben Vereen joke.
A Ben Vereen joke. Good joke. All right. So you know how in like the world of Ghost Rider that he gets the penance stare because he gets imbued with the power of this demon, right? It's the same for this character, but it's a totally different demon god. And instead of, so when it first jumped into somebody, it jumped into Wolverine, and that did not work out. I think that's the book we got to see. But at the very end of that book, it realizes it's not a good match for Wolverine, but instead decides it's going to take over a relative of Wolverine's who weirdly is not alive. So when last we saw Dakin, he was dead, very dead. And so now he's not, because he's got this basically, for lack of a better state, what to call it, just a penance stare god. So he's really powerful, and he's going to be a handful for just about anybody that comes up against him. Because, I mean, what do you do against something that's not alive, is as cussedly mean as Dakin was, and his godlike powers? It's really cool. The suit does feel saber-toothy, yeah, or old school Wolverine, right? Because he did have a brown uniform like that. But it's not him, so don't get fooled by it. There's no Wolverine, no Sabretooth in the suit. Oh. Wait,
I was real tired of this book until this issue. Issues 5, 6, and 7 just felt like they were nothing. And I'm like, okay, Dynamite, you did good for 4 issues, and then you laid an egg. Which, as much as I don't want to admit, is something that happens with Dynamite books for me quite a lot, right? Is they plan to do like a 10-issue arc, and in the middle you get 3 issues that are not important. So I was looking forward to this coming out, and this issue totally pays off. You get a lot more stitchy sort of hijinks, but from more than just Stitch. There are other characters in this book that I don't know if they're from the Lilo and Stitch universe or if they're new characters in this book. I don't care. They are super fun to have around. One of them is a dinosaur with purple spines. There are other creatures that I think are supposed to be aliens. Like I said, the middle 3 here was sort of a drop for me, but this book really brings it back up to speed, back up to date, and really kind of crushes it by giving me something fresh. It isn't the first issue, which was just like regurgitating Ohana means family in 9 different ways, or issues 2, 3, and 4, where it was, okay, Stitch hijinks with other space aliens and Stitch is in trouble and trying to save his family kind of stuff. Then it just turns into a story of nothing. And now we're back and Stitch is back and it's hijinks again. And it's super fun. And it's not so tropey and not so repetitive of the original concept.
Jay, put up JD's comment. From the creator of Planet Hulk and World War Hulk comes his next brutal masterpiece, Disney's Lilo and Stitch.
If you're not aware of Greg Pak's work in the all ages realm, and all you know is Planet Hulk and World War Hulk, you're missing out on some of Greg Pak's best work.
Or Totally Awesome Hulk, my favorite.
Again, I prefer Greg Pak's other all ages work to any of his work with the Hulk. So
I know a specific group that's I am in on the Facebooks is going to absolutely love this book. They're always looking for really great books that have a lot of Black characters in them because it's Black comic lords. And this is so good, y'all. It is that the character on the cover with the glasses, that I'm not 100% certain how old he was supposed to be. I think they're going to college is the way I read it, because and I guess it has to be, yeah, they're going to college because their family / friends show up on campus. And it's kind of like, it looks like it's that week where you get, I wasn't part of a sorority or a fraternity thing, so I don't know what they're called, where you get jumped in to their gang. What is that called? Someone tell me that's part of those groups. But he's like, hey, no, it's a week.
I think it's called getting jumped in.
Maybe. It's not, no, they're falling off a book. Yeah. A very, very demony book. So you get to see that as part of these, like, he just wants to go and have fun, invite his family and go party. But there is on campus a very evil group that is also a cult and is likely to stab you so that they can throw blood onto this book, which also gives them, I guess, power. So it's one of those, like, hey, it's a coming of age book and it's fun and family and cool characters. And then also really evil stabby things happening. So maybe you could liken it to, I hate Fairyland, or because the art is very cartoony fun, but the happenings in it are very dark. But I loved it.
Sick and tired of these mother fudging monsters on this mother fudging book.
I know. When I typed in the name of it, I was like, I can't even type potty words for some reason. My brain just says no. So I was like, when I hope Jay can just type for my mother effing. Yes, mixed with pretty violent. That is a great, great thing. Yes, Jay. Thank you.
I wish Jay would have read this book. He would have a very animated response. Because fish people.
Because fish people, okay.
Except not fish people. Because there is no fish people in this book, but you would think there would be fish people. I did not like -4 out of 10.
Wow.
And I hate to be that guy, but if I'm going to read a hard case book, they need to do hard case stuff. And this did not. I recognize that this is likely a bridge issue to get from kind of the introduction to this girl called Cthulhu story into the actual meat and potatoes of why they call her Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
But like nothing happens, and most of the boobs are dudes. Like there are a lot more shirtless dudes in this book than there are shirtless women, which is the opposite of how these things normally go.
True.
And I don't particularly care for either. Like, I'm just going to throw that out there. Neither of them is my jam. But if this had furthered the story, in my opinion, it would be pretty awesome. But it just doesn't. And it ends on like this, we're clearly setting you up for the next issue, kind of like cliffhanger, like, you know, when you're watching a sitcom and they try to leave you on a cliffhanger at the end of the season. It's like, really? You're not a drama. Your version of a cliffhanger just feels contrived. And that's kind of how this felt. So, like I said, this particular issue was not good in my opinion. The first issue is still significantly better than this. And so the third issue will be one I try and just be like, okay, when you go to read it, read 1, 3, 4, kind of thing. So
maybe someone can tell me that's watching. So I feel like Hard Case, all of this part of Titan, is based on an older set of like regular crime noir books, but I don't know if that's true. Is Minky Woodcock a character from some kind of old school crime noir that's been out for a while, or is this new character stuff? I mean, insofar as Titan's been doing it. We might have an expert. G.I. Joe, number 2. Man, I hope you guys read G.I. Joe number 1. For a girl that will tell you that I loved the cartoon growing up so much that I didn't really like normally the reading of the comic book because I just it made me crave the cartoon more, right? Nothing against Larry Hama's writing. It was phenomenal, but I just was like raised on something else. So when I read G.I. Joe number 1, that Image Skybound was doing, it just had something else in it that made it so that it took it far away from, we're comparing the apples of your favorite thing, which is the cartoon, to comic books. This took me so far out of it, like because of the build out of all of the different books that they've been doing with Duke, Scarlet, and all that stuff. And, put the Baroness on the wrong side and take another character and have them infiltrate what is becoming Cobra. All that stuff just was like my jam. I was like, they've made me interested again in so many ways. I will tell you that this just takes off right where the first issue left off. And this is the first appearance of a new group called the Valkyries, which I guess the way they describe it in the book is that they do exactly what Valkyries are supposed to do, which is like when people are damaged in combat on the battlefield, they make sure they go straight to Valhalla. So you guys can figure out what that means. Ooh. Way to go, Mike Barrett.
So if you don't know, my store was called the Nexus 419. Partially because of this character. I always thought Nexus was a lot of fun as a character, even though they were a little stilted in the past. They were a little goofy in the past. They were a little derpy. I always thought it was a cool concept. It's Superman without any of the morals of Superman. Right? He has powers when he's associated with when he's exposed to the correct sun. Just like Superman. He fights bad guys, but really only when it serves his purposes or when he feels like there's something to be gained, which I think is a very fun take on a comic book hero, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this book is a reintroduction to the concept of the Nexus character, where it is explaining that this is not a man with much scruples. He has a lot of very strong opinions, very strong thoughts, and is very sort of self-serving at every turn. And I loved it. There were great sci-fi references. There were great crime fightery references. There were great comic book references. But the big thing about this is that it felt like I was right back in the early 1990s when nobody wanted to read this book. And they were just making the book that the creators wanted to make, right? The editors weren't saying anything because nobody cared. This is how that felt. It felt like nobody cared. And so it felt true to Nexus. And I know Alien Books cares, don't get me wrong. And I know the editors back then cared. But this just felt like it was a little bit punk rock. And I really like that about it.
Ooh, Rombie. All right. So
I didn't realize
here's
this was
where,
out this soon.
I know, it's like, surprise. Okay, here's where my background in DC not being super strong is gonna hurt me. What are you drinking?
Alani New energy drink.
Okay, just what you need.
I have a long night ahead of me.
Okay, you probably need it. So I will say I've not read any New Gods stuff. The most I know about the New Gods is when the symbol for the New Gods shows up on the ground at the end of one of the DC films. I was like, oh, I recognize that. I got that.
You didn't read the Jack Kirby stuff?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, it's not for like, I don't want to try it. There's always other things that people are like, read this first, read that, read this. So I don't know if there are any original characters in here from those series. I will say you can tell how it's tying into the All In storyline, and you can tell it's going to be really important. But beyond that, if you are not steeped in, this kind of era, Bronze Era titles, you might want to go back and read some of it, or like even read the Wikipedia page that explains what the New Gods are would be great. Would get you started. So I'll say for me, I love Rom V, and it's not the writing and it's not the art, because all of those are amazing. I can't fall in love with the characters yet because I don't know what their background is. I don't know. Oh, that part I did like. There is a whole part where you see Mr. Miracle taking care of his and Barda's daughter, I think. And he like finds himself in a situation where he's like, Barda's away and he has to change a diaper. And that's kind of cute, right? Where he's just like, I have all these abilities and all these strengths and stuff, but here's real life. That part I loved, because that's, me, that's what I read books for, is like the humanizing part about it. So yes, that part I quite liked. And I know enough to know Mr. Miracle and all that. Boo diapers, that's right. We all have filled them and will fill them again.
Miss Jen read number 1 of this.
Mm-hmm. Pew, pew.
I had to go grab my copy and read it before I read number 2. I like this a lot. And the reason I liked it so much, and I continue to like it so much, is there is a traditional aspect to Usagi Yojimbo storytelling that I don't know that gets enough credit. Stan Sakai has a real traditional storytelling style when it comes to Usagi.
Mm-hmm.
And when Usagi is earthbound, that can get a little tired. When you put Usagi in space, where it's super futuristic and sci-fi laden, and then you have that traditional sort of personality, that traditional sort of, I guess, storytelling, it really does play well off of each other, right? Like, on some level, this is still just Lone Wolf and Cub. But now it's Lone Wolf and Cub in outer space with laser guns, which is, in my opinion, infinitely more interesting. So, issue 2 is, the second chapter in Usagi trying to be Usagi, but in space. And it feels almost like an old school manga.
Mm-hmm.
in that way, but it feels super new school in the Laser Wolf and Cub. Right. It feels, like I said, it feels old school and new school all combined together. And, it really works out pretty well. So, like I said, I thought this was a really nice pickup, a really nice fun read through. That if you've read the first one, definitely pick up. If not, go back and get the first White Star Rising issue and start from there.
It is really Laser Wolf and Space Cub because introduced new character, right? The first one.
You read it.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it did or not because I don't remember.
Well,
That's what I'm saying. I had to reread it, but like nobody in there felt like a new character because I had read it before. Like, so I don't really remember. But real fast, fourth book down on the end. Do you know what that is?
I've never seen it before.
Second Usagi Yojimbo.
I'm gonna say it's not the first because that one's blue, right?
Second Usagi Yojimbo.
Second Usagi. I'm gonna have to message my friends. All right, here's my second backup. I'm gonna tell you all I know about this group. Hey, it's the challenge is the unknown. They usually deal in the unknown, and they like purple, and because of some, like it exposed Superman's suit to some kind of, I can't remember what it was, but it turned his suit purple. He liked it, so they kept it. So that's how they end up with all these cool colors on their uniforms. And other than that, and its connection to they are part of this group that are part of the Watchtower and the new arrangement of the JLA and all of that stuff. But other than that, I'm not sure how it fits in with everything else. I'm sure that issue 2 is going to tell us. This kind of feels like a setup. Like, here's characters, here's how they fit together, but not what their purpose is yet, to me. So I'm waiting. We'll see.
So there's a great turtle story called Escape from New York. It's a quintessential turtle story. It's one of the big important ones from the early days of the Turtles. What Jason Aaron has been doing for 3 issues now is a return to New York, which is it's been a number of years since Escape. The Turtles find themselves in a situation that basically puts them in a similar situation, except they're returning to their home. And the fun thing specifically about this is that story felt super gritty and grungy and very much like New York of the late 80s, early 90s before it turned into Disneyland. And everything had a big light on it and was super pretty and shiny. So you don't notice when you're getting pickpocketed.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like, and that's kind of the New York the Turtles have lived in for a while. This feels like a return to that New York of the late 80s, early 90s, where it was super grungy and grimy and you couldn't walk down the street and it was dangerous, and that it feels like a world that needs the Turtles. And I really appreciate that about it. I don't know. My love of the Turtles probably clouds my opinion on the storytelling. I don't know that this is particularly Jason's best storytelling, but it is a very fresh and interesting take on the Turtles. And so for that, I really, really appreciate it. I think for a Turtles novice, this may be a trade situation. Especially if they re-release, if you can get the original trade of Escape and the trade of Return and read them together. I think that would be a really good way to approach it. D&T, we will be we'll be doing that in 25-ish minutes. So stick around. You'll hit refresh when this show ends and we'll be doing that sale. It'll be me. It'll look I'll look basically the same as this.
For a whole hour, and then I'll show back up again because
I
will.
So anyway, go back, Jay. wasn't done.
We got distracted.
Yes. Like I said, this feels like a very needed refresh for the Turtles and a return to grungy Turtles. Mr. Nope, I don't know where you're at, but this feels like something that you will dig. Now you can go forward.
Okay. Man, I thought maybe issue 3 would give us a little bit of breathing room. Because issue 1 had the whole like revelation about the chest sword. Issue 2 gives you the revelation of the hold your ears if you haven't got to read your 2 yet. Giant tank Batmobile just comes straight out of a building. So I was like, man, maybe they'll give us a breather a little bit, because I know that issue 4, don't tell anybody, origin story. So don't miss 4. It's time to add it to your LCS's pull box, by the way. Just reconcile yourself to the fact that it's an amazing series and you need it. And stop going and being like, I hope it's on the rack. Just put it in your box. Okay, so to get you up a little bit, Alfred in this tale is not a butler, nor I don't think has he ever been. He is instead a long-time spook. He is a man in the shadows. And when you see him in the first issue, all he's doing is observing what's going on in Gotham and waiting for his handlers to tell him whether he's supposed to be taking him out or not. He's trying to convince them that like he's interesting enough and creating enough problem for the real true bad guy who Alfred is after, who is this got his own society of guys that are wearing masks, and the masks give them like really scary ability stuff, not like superhero stuff, but just like on top of an anonymity, it gives them other things that they can do. This issue kind of explains more about that, and then you get to actually see the guy they call the Black Mask. You get to see the Black Mask actually with just his mask on, and then like I don't know if you were going to see a bad guy that was just in his Speedos and wrestling some guy. It looks like he's having a whole discussion, just like a bad guy would. But while he's doing that, he's like doing a practice fight with this huge hulking guy who he's destroying utterly, bit by bit. And that guy's just letting him do it. So, I don't know. He seems like a very scary, scary bad guy. So this one's fully leaning into the development of getting Alfred closer and closer to like, now he's revealed himself to Batman. And so they find themselves in the same vehicle, and, you know, Alfred clearly wants to fight this fight in a different way, which means he stays in the shadows, and that's not going to happen. So this is really, 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 really daggum good stuff. Ooh.
I have the number 1 in here somewhere too.
Is that your ashy can?
Mm-hmm.
Is that one of those flip ones? Because I know that the Superman, Wonder Woman ones were flip ones.
I don't know. I haven't taken it out of the bagging board.
Okay. Fancy.
This is from the Monarch collection.
Oh, good. So that'll be coming up in this next hour?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Imagine if you knew who had slept with who when you go out and about. Like, and that's the premise of this book, right? Is that this main character sees strings that go from person to person, and blue strings mean that they've doinked, and black strings mean that there's death. And so a blue string, it obviously goes between two people who have slept together, whether they want people to know or not, whether they should have or not, doesn't matter. The string exists, but only to the main character. And then the black string goes from someone who has died to the person who killed them, or someone who has killed someone to the person that they killed. And so it makes our character very handy, our main character very handy at like figuring out if your boyfriend and girlfriend are cheating on you, or your wife or husband is cheating on you, but also at like, we can't solve this murder. Well, then they hire her and she just follows the string, right?
Is this going to become a police procedural? Because I need to start reading it, if so.
It's Ghost Whisperer. If the ghosts don't talk and just have lines of ethereal energy emanating from them.
Okay.
At the end of the first issue, we see our main character and her police liaison buddy witness a bad guy that they think is a murderer explode.
Oh my.
Well, he gets in a car accident, his car explodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not long after that, our main character notices that there is a black string around her, emanating from her.
Oh.
Right. And what we find out in this issue is that means either she is going to kill, but it doesn't have an end. It just kind of goes a few feet and then it kind of evaporates, right? So what that means, according to her, is that either she is going to kill someone in the next 24 hours or someone is going to kill her in the next 24 hours.
And find out if that could be changed.
That's
no one else can use that information because they don't know it's there, but she can.
That's what the book is, Miss Jen.
Ooh, I like it.
So she goes to her police liaison and is like, look, I need your help. We have to figure this out. We have to solve this. I don't know what to do. And it's them spending a whole day trying to solve this thing. And there is some hijinkery for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But also there is like some legit scary stuff that happens. So without giving it away, there is a really fun fight with a wife who is pretty sure someone, be it our main character or her police partner, slept with this woman's husband. But she doesn't actually know who slept with her, or if we don't actually know if this woman is crazy. And then there are definitely some like beware what lurks behind the closed door situations. So I'm really kind of digging this. Paul Tobin's doing good work over here at Mad Cave. And I think this is a super fun book. And again, it's a unique take. It's not something that I've seen done a bunch of different times, a bunch of different ways.
Warm Fusion, man. Okay, so I will just pre-warn you that you should not read this maybe in a full diner full of people at Black Bear because there's a bunch of very adult content in this book. And
who's the
one I read. I read two books that have got a bunch of adult stuff.
Who published?
Warm Fusion is distillery, I believe. Yeah, you just can't. It's
Got it.
up on that cover.
Got
so
it.
There's the distillery for this one. So this one is, for lack of a better explanation, is like a police detective who is trying to figure out this murder, but the murder happens amongst the ladies of the night part of the city. And in this, it feels like in this version that's like kind of like a norm instead of more of like
excuse me,
like our society would say, oh, it's dirty and that should not be around. It seems more like normalized for maybe it's near future leaning. And so he's trying really hard to try to get anybody that's in the trade to talk to him. And one of them is this woman who's on the front cover who calls herself Snow White. It's so funny because when she introduces herself, he's like, what is your actual name? And she was like, obviously it's Snow White. So no one is kind of like tight-lipped like anything else. Like no one's a snitch and all that stuff. So they don't really want to talk. But
Snow White's handler, a little person?
No.
Then they've missed out Scott Hoffman.
Well, you don't want to be too on the nose for crazy stuff like that. So anyway, this is just dark. Lots of, obviously because of that angle. And the detective is kind of a cool, like, older black gentleman. And it feels like there's a lot of cool dynamic between him and other people that he works with it's going to probably get to play out more over time in this series. So I liked it. This is graphic for graphics, like I felt like there was another series that they did that was just like there's just debauchery for debauchery's sake. This kind of feels like there's some good storytelling that I like to read behind it. So,
okay. So I'm going to review 2 books at a time here. Because I read Exit City 1 and Exit City 2.
Hmm.
So the thing about Exit City is that this is literally a police procedural. On every level, this is a police procedural. The thing I like about it is that it takes the good cop, bad cop sort of level of police procedural to another level. Like, you have good cop and you have morally ambiguous cop, which I really like. You know, cop who's seen some things, man, and some stuff. And they're investigating some major crimes in Exit City. And it becomes very clear that if you had seen the kind of things that they see on a regular basis for as long as our morally ambiguous cop has, you would be morally ambiguous too. It's hard to do that and not get the trauma, right? So it turns into this sort of the new cop versus the old cop, or new cop trying to keep the old cop on the straight and narrow while they solve this string of increasingly brutal crimes and stories. So issue 1 is sort of a car accident. Issue 2 is a full-on why is that guy's head in that many pieces story. But they're related. But the problem that they're facing is that our new cop, who is trying really hard to solve the case, is being hindered by our cop who is super jaded, who wants to solve the case, but is also like, I need to have all of the beer. So it kind of reminds me on some level of Constantine without the magic meets like Doctor Who without the magic. Or better yet, Law and Order SVU if Olivia Benson was like a super straight arrow and Elliot Stabler was that actor whose name I can't remember right now.
Welcome to my age.
Jay.
You gotta give us more clues. Ramble on like I do, and eventually
Guy
you'll
who
know.
plays Elliot on Law and Order SVU.
Christopher Maloney.
Yes, Christopher Maloney was Christopher Maloney from Happy. Like, where he's not a good cop anymore. And so that's super fun. So that's Exit City.
Okay, this is one I'm going to give you a really short review for because I didn't get to read this one. I really did run out of time, but I did want you to be aware of it. This one is a ton of really cool holiday adjacent stories from distillery creators. I am certain none of them are straightforward nor 100% Christmassy, but like most companies, you got to have a Christmas special. And I've liked all of them so far. So I just didn't want you guys to miss out on this one because it looks really cool.
Well, and at least it comes out before Christmas.
That is the truth. But this one is hands down my favorite thing this week. Even more than Absolute Batman, which I know you guys think. There's no way it could be true. This is from Ninth Circle, which is a new imprint at Image. They had a one-shot out came out 2-3 weeks ago. They've got this one. There's a bunch more coming. And as you know, Garth Ennis always gives you the goods. Okay. So yes.
Ninth Circle is Joe Pruitt's imprint at Image. So you're going to see a lot of the people you liked from Aftershock doing 9 circle books at Image.
Yes, and this one is oversized, like Distillery, but that is not going to continue from this company, this size. Just think this one needs it because of all the imagery that's going on in this. This feels right because this is a one shot. So imagine that it's just a trade paperback and you'll get over it because this is so good. Okay. So I'm actually hoping so much that this one shot becomes something else, like an ongoing, because it is so good. I'm in love with this character. So this takes place in Hollywood. It can't be our Hollywood because of the things that happen. Freddie there is that guy that Hollywood producers, etc., call, or actors if they're smart, if they find themselves in a situation in which they've done something very, very bad or very, very wrong or very, very embarrassing, and they need someone to go and take care of it right away and make it all disappear so that that famous person does not get, lose their career, etc., right? So not a good guy, just good at his job. But the thing that makes you go like, what the heck is going on right away is that you see him get called to do the job. He shows up and there is a full-on werewolf standing over a body that he's ripped completely apart. And Freddie is not scared about that. That is clearly the client he is coming to come help. It was obviously a Hollywood famous person who is, spazzed out and become a werewolf. So there is a lot of blood and gore. There is a ton of nudity, and there's like a whole coven. I think it's got a coven of, I'm assuming it's vampires because they're like S&M people they're torturing, but also the way he talks to them is that they're like that. He uses demons to help him with his work. It feels a lot like, if you like Dirk Manning's Tales of Mystery, you will absolutely love this universe because it does feel very dark and that he's fighting things, but also that he's got one-ups on them, that some of it's bluff and some of it's real. This one, 100%, you've got to pick it up.
Interestingly, I thought a coven was only for witches.
Oh, did I say coven? I've been watching Discovery Witches.
I Googled a group of vampires can be called a clan, a coven, a pack, a brood, or a clutch.
Oh.
So you were correct, and I learned something new.
I would have never known.
A clan is a group of vampires with a shared heritage or blood that they can trace their generations back to a covenant, pack, brood, clutch, coven are all just groups of miscellaneous vampires.
There were some other really good books that I did not get to review this week, mostly because one of our boxes somehow UPS decided to hold on to at the main hub forever. So we'll get it probably tomorrow because I called up their bosses and said, hey, I was trying to think of what else is out. There's like the new Sentinels is out, which has been so good. New Spectacular Spider-Man.
Well, Miss Jen looks, I'm going to put the link in the chat for the live sale that is immediately following this one. And then I'm going to, if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to leave it to Miss Jen and Jay to finish the show and give you the spiel about Comic Shop Locator and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get ready for the next thing. So I will see everybody in like 7 minutes. Miss Jen, I'll see you in an hour. Yes. Everybody, see you next time. Bye.
All right. So this is a different kind of day than usual. We don't have the normal show that comes on right after this one. So we'll say definitely go over and support this fundraising effort that we have for Monarch Comics, which was burned / flooded out last week. So they lost everything except for what's going to be offered during the show. So they're literally offering the last of their stock to try to raise money to get themselves started again. This is a shop that's been around for 30 years, some crazy long amount of time. It's Kyle's home LCS and a great many other people really, really care about this place. And I care about it because it's another LCS. So definitely do that. I am going to still be doing my new comic book show opposite it, so you can double screen if you want to. And then I'm going to go short on that show, just like an hour. And then I'm going to come over and be with Kyle. Do connect with your local comic shop about any of the books that you saw today that you want to have. And definitely watch on Friday. Matthias's new show that talks about all the stuff that's on FOC is so helpful. Very easy to watch. And then you will know way ahead of time, enough like 3 days that you can still go and connect with your LCS and get all the crazy cool variant covers you want, because you'll know about them early and don't have to rely on, like the day before things are released, your app tells you that something's going to be hot and you're like, ooh, kill surprise. So this way you'll know ahead of time. Thank you so much for joining us. You can always use previewsworld.com for more information, or you can use Comic Shop Locator and the zip code for wherever you're traveling to find local comic shops. And we're super excited that you guys are here with us on the experience. Thank you for all your support, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.